Before we get into this special weekend edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Mike Lindell at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Jason Crabb has won 2 Grammy Awards along with 22 GMA Dove Awards. He was named the Gospel Music Association Dove Award Artist and Male Vocalist of the Year, and he's won the Song of the Year Award as well. In fact, Jason has won so many music industry honors and awards, it's impossible for us to name them all in this short time we have today. The most important thing, though, is his music. His many hits that have inspired so many people over the years. It's an honor to have Jason Crabb join me today. Welcome. How are you, sir?
Oh, my goodness. I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me on, and thank you for such kind words. You know, God he is an amazing God, isn't he? He is so faithful.
That is for sure. Let's just start, Jason, with you telling our listeners a little about your personal journey. When I first saw you, you were performing with your family. It was the Brooklyn Tabernacle in New York, and my wife and I just happened to stumble into the church that day, and you guys were singing with the choir there. And I've been a fan ever since. When did you discover your musical talents?
Well, my dad was a pastor, and he pastored many years. I grew up a PK, and whatever was missing in the church, if you needed, there was a guitar player that didn't show up, or a drummer that didn't show up, or, you needed to play keys. You just hoped that the keyboard would transpose into C, because that's all I knew how to play in. But, it's just kind of one of those things. You jumped in and you did what needed to be done, and that's kind of what I did.
Yeah.
And, I didn't really stumble into the singing part until, I just really started listening to some vocalists and people that I really admired and loved, and kind of went that route. And God blessed those things, and it just went good. And to have like people like Russ Taff, Michael English, great people, and that were phenomenal role models.
Sure. Yeah. You have performed at some of the world's most famous venues, been on a lot of famous stages, Carnegie Hall, the Grand Ole Opry. You were part of Billy Graham's Final Crusade in New York City. Of course, this week you'll be performing at the Walhalla Performing Arts Center in upstate South Carolina. Is there
there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Is there a particular venue, Jason, that is your favorite?
You know what? I really find something important in each place. I think another opportunity to go and stand on a stage and proclaim the gospel and sing and do what I do is so important. Now, there are stages vocally that I love to stand on. The Ryman Auditorium is the greatest music venue I've ever played. And it just sounds the best. It feels the best. I just don't know. It was a church. That's how it started. And you can just kind of still feel that. You feel at home when you get there and you play. You start singing some of those good gospel songs, and the next thing you know, boy, it really starts feeling right.
Yeah. Wow.
But, there's area, South Carolina has been so good to me. I absolutely love South Carolina. And I'm looking forward to being there.
Well, we are looking forward to having you. And you have performed at a lot of upstate churches over the years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You've also performed with a lot of other well-known artists, Vince Gill, Winona, Brad Paisley, Blake Shelton, many others. What's it like to share the stage with some of these other well-known performers?
You know what, man, I'm going to be honest with you. The country folks, the country artists are so nice and so kind and so applauding of the music that we present and do and sing. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
I really don't know how to explain it any more than that. They applaud it. They love it. They love to be a part of it, especially if we get to do I'll ask them to come and sing on a record, and man, they're all over it.
Yeah.
I'm just, some of my dearest friends are country music artists.
Yeah.
Some of the most godly people that I've been around.
Yeah.
These country writers, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
On our guest line today, Jason Crabb, and you're going to have a chance to see Jason at the Walhalla Performing Arts Center this Friday, May 23rd. Just go to WalhallaPAC.com, WalhallaPAC.com, and get your tickets today. I'm looking so forward to it. I'll be right there down front with you on Friday. Jason, you've had a lot of great songs. As mentioned, won a lot of awards over the years. I'm sure you have favorites. I certainly have a favorite. And I need to pause for a moment here and just share with you a personal story of mine. I've shared it with my listeners over the years. Many of them went through that period of time in 2021 when I had a couple of surgeries and just had some health issues. But as mentioned, my wife and I had seen you and your family at the time in at the Brooklyn Tabernacle. And Through the Fire is just a song that got me through a very tough time. I played it over and over and just listened to the message there, because God will get you through the fire. I don't care how tough things get. He will get you through that. Is there a favorite song for you? And it has to be very special, Jason, to know that your music helps people like me get through those tough times.
I think that's what's important about heeding the call. I had opportunities to do other things in life and other styles of music, some good opportunities, big contracts and stuff. And I just would tell them I just don't feel called to that.
Yeah.
I think this is who I am, and I feel called to singing this type of music that I do, and compelled to it. I'm so thankful that the Lord, has allowed me to do it. I think that's what's important, because when you know that and you feel it and you experience it, then you know the importance, especially when I hear like a testimony like yours and says that has helped you through a tough time, or maybe encouraged you. Man, that's what it's all about,
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that other music don't do that. I'll be honest with you. There's times that, man, certain songs, will minister to me, and I'll be like, I didn't know where that came from. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It ministered to me, and that's the importance of music, in my opinion. But I think that when you're called to this, and when you realize that that it's bigger than just what you enjoy doing, or it's bigger than your occupation even.
Sure.
You put your whole heart into it, and how blessed I'm just so thankful and blessed, because not only this is what I do for a living. I put food on the table for my kids, and now I'm paying for a wedding for one of them through this music. But also, just like you said, we get to minister and to encourage. And man, I don't know how any more fulfilling that life can be more than that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
What a blessing.
Yeah.
What a blessing.
Yep. That is for sure. Jason Crabb, it's a pleasure. I look forward to seeing you on Friday. Again, you can get your tickets at WalhallaPAC.com. If you just want to have a real blessing, then I hope you'll join us on Friday at the Walhalla Performing Arts Center. Jason, God bless you. Safe travels, and look forward to seeing you soon.
Oh, I can't wait to see everybody there. It's going to be a wonderful time. I've got some dear friends coming in, and get ready for a good time. It's going to be fun.
Are you ready for this? I dropped over 30 pounds on the PhD weight loss plan. No Ozempic, no shots, no meds. Look, I refuse to rely on prescriptions for life, and you probably feel the same. Joey Hudson here. Here's what Big Pharma won't tell you. Your body already makes GLP-1. That's the hormone that fights hunger. PhD helps your body produce it naturally, faster, and without side effects. With PhD, there's no muscle loss, no rebound weight gain, and no cravings. Just real, lasting weight loss the natural way. Right now, get a free body scan and personalized metabolic assessment. It takes 5 minutes and shows what's really happening inside your body. You'll walk out knowing how to flip your fat-burning switch. No shots needed. Don't trade your health for a quick fix. You can do this without Big Pharma and without the drugs. Plus 15% off when you fully commit to your program and the PhD Get Results Guarantee. Call now 864-644-1900. Start today. Call 864-644-1900 or visit myphdweightloss.com. Since 1982, 35,000 students have set goals, build relationships, develop confidence, and conquer negative peer pressure, things that are not taught in the average classroom. And this is all part of the Broyhill Leadership Conference that will take place this summer at Gardner-Webb University. Joining us today is the man who helps make it all happen, the founder and president of the Tomorrow's America Foundation, Michael Broome. Welcome, Michael. How are you?
Thank you, Joey. Appreciate the opportunity to speak with you.
Sure thing. Michael, let's just talk about you for a minute and your journey. Because of your experience as a student leader in junior high, high school, college, you recognize that things like leadership skills, goal setting, communication, problem solving were things that weren't necessarily being taught in the normal classroom. So you started developing a program that would teach these skills, and today that's the Broyhill Leadership Conference. So let's start with a general overview of what the program involves and why you still believe that it's important to teach young people these skills.
Well, the name of my foundation is the Tomorrow's America Foundation, and we named it that because we're trying to build leaders for tomorrow's America. You know, the New York Times interviewed a man, this was a story some years ago, he was 105 years of age, and asked him what he thought about young people. And he said, they're ruining the country. They're lazy and disrespectful bunch of ingrates, and I don't think America will last much longer. And they asked him, well, how long have you felt that way? He said, for about 80 years.
Oh, wow. But, you know, there's a lot of truth to that, isn't there?
Well, but every generation tends to look at the younger generation with somewhat of a critical eye, and certainly young people today have their share of problems. But I can tell you, we've always felt very fortunate that at our conferences, the Broyhill Leadership Conferences, that generally we get a higher caliber of student. They're cut from a different bolt of cloth. Yeah. I mean, let's face it, you know, if you want to attend a summer conference on personal development and leadership, it means that you want kind of a bigger slice out of life's pie. And so all through these 44 years that we've done this, we've just gotten a really great bunch of kids. And the kids that attend, by the way, I mean, it's about 50-50 male, female. Racially, they generally match the percentages in society, and they come from across the economic strata. I'll tell you one thing I'm particularly proud of is we're getting a lot of kids now whose parents attended years ago.
Yes.
Yeah. And I can't wait till we get somebody whose grandparent attended.
Yeah, yeah. With me today, Michael Broome, and we're talking about the Broyhill Leadership Conference. You can find out additional information at broyhill-leadership.org, and we're going to talk a little more about the actual conference in a minute. Let's talk, Michael, a bit, though, about the actual curriculum and a little more detail about what these students are taught during this 5-day program.
Okay. You know, it comes in so many layers, and I don't think I know for a fact, I'm not exaggerating when I say that for a lot of attendees, it's literally a life-changing experience. You think about maybe when you were in high school, comment that maybe a teacher made to you, a compliment you got, or someone giving you advice. A lot of times these things can be life-changing in just a short conversations. Well, we have the benefit of having them for a week. And essentially we're teaching them how to set goals, develop their self-esteem, overcome negative peer pressures, be leaders and servants. And I'll give you an example of a question I'll ask them. I'll say, how many of you think that you're more intelligent, wiser now than you were when you were 13? Of course, all the hands are going to go up. I'll say, how many of you feel you'll be wiser when you're 30, 40, 50 than you are today? And of course, they'll all raise their hands. I said, well, here's the dilemma. You're going to be making decisions in the next few years when you're 18, 20, 22 regarding your career, your education, perhaps even who you marry. You're going to be making these decisions without the benefit of the wisdom that you would have when you're 40 or 50. And so how do you develop the wisdom that you'll have when you're older? How do you develop that wisdom now? And the number one way we recommend is to develop mentors. Older people who care about your success, who want you to achieve, and form relationships with these folks and make yourself accountable. So that's one thing in the curriculum. We encourage them to seek mentors. We also talk to them a lot about setting goals. We have something called mountain climbing, where they either do an outline or a paper where they set a goal and then write out the specifics as to how they're going to accomplish it. Then they turn that over to the counselor. Counselor critiques it. They rewrite it. The counselor critiques it again. And it's amazing how different the final paper is from the first one, because generally speaking, most young people do not think in terms of specifics and really narrowing their goals down. You know, Helen Keller said, I love to accomplish great tasks one tiny step at a time. And then another benefit for them, I think, comes from learning how to develop meaningful relationships and friends. I've got a friend that's a speech pathologist, and I was amazed. I asked her one time, I said, tell me the clients you have. Who are the most frequent clients that you were hired for? I thought it would be people with speech impediments or stroke victims. She said, by far, I'm hired to teach children how to talk to other people.
Yeah.
Wow. Social media has become so dominant in their lives, they really don't know how to interact with others. And that's one of the things we teach them is how to talk with others, ask open-ended questions, take an active interest in what people have to say. And we have a number of exercises and things they do that facilitate those lessons. And humor, by the way, is a big part of what we do. We deal with so much substantive material. You know, if we don't do it in an entertaining fashion, we're likely, to lose them. The issue that I really enjoy talking to kids the most about is absolute truth. You know, our society's become so raveled, and everybody has their own truths, and there's some value to that. But the problem is most don't believe in absolute truth. And the definition we use for that is an absolute truth is something that's true for all cultures, all people, and all times. And we'll begin by asking, how do you think there are truths that are always true? And really, only a small percentage will agree with that. And I'll say, well, let me give you an example of absolute truth. 2 + 2 = 4. Judging people's character by their race is wrong. And of course, they all agree with that.
Yeah.
To pursue every urge that you have and never consider the consequences will have devastating results.
Yeah.
The taking of innocent life for sadistic enjoyment is wrong. And then the greatest absolute truth of all time is that plumbers should not wear low-riding jeans.
Oh, wow. Yes, that is a truth.
That's a truth for sure. But you see, and this leads into a discussion that we have about moral issues and how do you determine something that's right, that's wrong. And one criteria is that generally if you're trying to make a decision which is right and which is wrong, the decision that requires the most discipline is the right way to go.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. With me today is Michael Broome. He's president and founder of Tomorrow's America Foundation, which administers the Broyhill Leadership Conference each summer. Been doing it since 1982. Over 35,000 students have participated in this. Michael, give us an idea of the typical day at the Broyhill Leadership Conference.
Well, of course, in the morning there's a general session where there's a lot of singing and funny activities, and then they may listen to speakers. I mean, on our staff, we have 3 professional speakers. They're motivational speakers and storytellers. And then we've got a number of, say, films or videos that are always teaching some important principle. Then from that, they'll break into their individual councils, where in those councils they have interactive discussions. And let me tell you something, too, another benefit. We really are after teaching them how to think critically. And part of that is encouraging them to debate with the curriculum, debate with us. We always ask they do it in a respectful way. And some of the funniest things that have happened through the years are during those discussions. I'll give you two quick examples. This was 20 years ago. I was talking about the dangers of drunk driving, and a kid raised his hand. He says, well, I drink and drive, and I've never hurt anybody. I said, well, what if you did? What if you accidentally killed somebody? Yeah. And not trying to be funny, he said, well, I don't think it would be my fault. I said, how could you say that? He said, because it was their fate to die. I was just a cog in the wheel of their fate. And I said, well, so if I came over there and slapped you to the ground, would you say it wasn't my fault, or would you sue me? He'd go, oh, I'd sue you. I said, why is that? He said, because it's your fate to be sued.
Wow.
I don't know what happened to him, but I wouldn't be surprised if today he was a member of Congress.
Oh, wow.
But, you know, there was an old Art Linkletter show entitled Kids Say the Darndest Things. And I'll just give you one more quick example that happened last year. The kids asked me what I thought were the reasons for so much divorce. And I said, well, you know, I'm really no expert, but the number one thing people argue over is money. So you want to make sure you're on the same financial page with somebody before you marry them. And then I think in the beginning of marriage, they focus on the things about each other they adore. And then after years of marriage, they focus on the things about each other that are irritating. I said, and then with the advent of social media and its influence, people are hooking up with old boyfriends and girlfriends, so you have to factor in adultery. Now, I'm not trying to be funny. This 17-year-old boy raised his hand. He said, well, I disagree with you without a they're not sexually active. And nobody laughed. I was the only adult in the room, and the rest of them shook their head. Yeah, that's a good point. You know, but it certainly gives you a perspective of how they think. But there is very little downtime at this program.
Yeah.
They go from early in the morning until about 10 o'clock at night, involved in all these different activities, discussions. Of course, we have the classic things like a talent show, and they develop individual presentations sometimes that they will deliver. One thing they do, there's a lot of reading, but the reading is written in the teen vernacular, and it's very entertaining. But as they read, they are to underline things that are important to them that they think apply to their life. And then in the general sessions, we ask somebody to stand up and tell us something that they underline, and they'll read it, but then they have to say specifically how they're going to apply it in their life and the change that will make.
Yeah.
And when they say that, if they do a good job, we throw them a Snickers bar, and everybody applauds them. They get a lot of encouragement, and it really becomes a very hip, cool thing to come up with these specific things about their life that they're going to change. In fact, the final paper that they write in terms of setting goals is to name a relationship with a relative that you are going to improve. And it could be a grandparent, a cousin. Frequently, it's a parent or a sibling.
Yeah.
And that has made a big difference as well. We've heard from many parents how appreciative they are if their child came up with some specifics that they were going to incorporate in their lives to make their relationship stronger.
Yeah. So, Michael, if someone's listening today, maybe it is a parent, a grandparent, who would like their child to attend this, give us the details of how to register, the dates, because I know you have 2 sessions in the summer, and talk with us, too, about the cost.
You know, the cost of this program, by the way, if for the entire week they spend 4 nights, 5 days, is only $375. And we're only able to deliver it at that cost because of the generosity of the Broyhill Family Foundation. But in order to register, you just go online to broyhill-leadership.org, and the registration is a pretty simple process. And you could sign up for either date. They're both open now. One's in June, the other's in July. And June 17th through 21st and July 8th through 12th. And I can assure you that we do anonymous evaluations at these conferences so the kids can write whatever they want. Yeah. And overwhelmingly, these kids say what a great experience it is, how much the staff impacted them. Our staff, by the way, are not college kids or high school age kids. They're adults ranging in age from 25 to 55. And they have an incredible love of kids. You know, the last day of the camp, a lot of the kids are running around crying. They don't want to leave. Guess what? Yeah. A lot of our staff, they're crying as well. And they do this week after week, but they get into it so emotionally. Yeah. But essentially, if you just go online, that's how you can register for this program.
Sure. And again, that website is Broyhill-leadership.org, Broyhill-leadership.org, and you can check it out. It has the dates and all the registration material that you will need. Michael Broome, again, is president and founder of Tomorrow's America Foundation, who administers the Broyhill Leadership Conference. And Michael, let me just congratulate you on such a successful and a needed program. I mean, wow, again, 35,000 students and growing every summer. You're touching a lot of young people's lives and affecting them in ways that you probably never even know.
Well, Joey, I appreciate that. And anyone that wants, if you go online, they can call our office. And if you have any question about our program, our philosophy, our history, what we stand for, I am an open book. And so you will feel totally confident knowing where your kid is going, what they are advocating. And I think if I could sum everything up into just this, if there was only one thing I would want a kid to leave our conference and take home with him, it would be a renewed sense of gratitude and appreciation for their family, for their school, and for our nation and the freedom that we have.
Yeah. Well, Michael, again, thank you for what you do, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Joey.
There's nothing more American than American Legion baseball, and after a 3-year absence, the Greenville Post 3 Warbirds will be back on the field in 2025. Joining us today is a guy who will be leading the team, Coach Brian Remsberg. Welcome. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on, Joey. Really excited about the Warbirds returning.
It is a pleasure, Brian. All right, I first want to give a special thanks to Ingalls Markets, who's been very supportive of making this season happen. I understand they're a big supporter of the communities, and when I first learned about this, it was from Melissa Level, the Ingalls marketing director, and she is very excited about Ingalls' role in supporting the return of American Legion baseball, so special thanks to Ingalls. Let's start with a little history of American Legion baseball and the history in the upstate of South Carolina specifically.
Yeah, it's really awesome. It's been around for a long time. You've got the Posts that have sponsored these baseball teams for almost 100 years now. Actually 1925 is when American Legion baseball started, and you've got a number of Posts that are still active here. You know, not just Greenville, of course. Restarting here, you got Anderson, Easley, Golden Strip, Greenwood, Inman, Spartanburg. 28 teams in all here in the state.
Yeah, wow. Talk with us about the league, and as you said, how many teams? 21?
There's 28 senior league teams, and that's kids up to age 19, and a majority of which are going to be the top juniors and seniors at local high schools. And so the league that we're going to join, we're going to be playing against Anderson, Easley, Golden Strip, and Greenwood. Okay. But there's a lot of really good baseball here in the upstate.
Yeah. And, you know, the thing about first off, everybody loves baseball. It's an all-American sport. But don't you think that American Legion is just kind of super special? I mean, I hear about the veterans. They adopt these young players in the summer. I mean, what a great experience, right?
Oh, it's unbelievable. And that's actually kind of where, that got me started here. I grew up playing in Michigan for Chief Pontiac Post. And I remember a guy named Garwood Vanna, the guy was a World War II vet. That was out there, and these guys they really do adopt you as your own. It's not just the parents and the girlfriends that show up for the games; it's these veterans, and it's so supportive. And these kids that are going to be playing for our Post, they haven't experienced that yet, and I think it's going to be a kind of a shock to the system, and it gives you a lot of pride in the way you conduct yourself in the field. You are absolutely trying to hold yourself to a higher standard just because of who you're playing for.
Yeah. Coach Brian is with us today, and, of course, we're talking about the American Legion Greenville Post 3 Warbirds. Give us sort of a behind-the-scenes view of how you recruit your players, the process of kind of bringing the Warbirds back.
Yeah, so it all started back in October. I reached out to the Post and said, hey, guys, what happened to the baseball team? Can we get this baseball team back? And I got a really nice response right away from the commander. Kurt Conover has been super supportive, huge baseball guy. He and his wife are actually drive season ticket holders. So that was a good start for us. From there, we approached the state and the state American Legion group, and they said, gosh, this is great. You know, what's American Legion baseball in South Carolina if you don't have a team in Greenville? So we're excited about it. And from there, I find out the schools that we're able to recruit from. Every post has a recruiting base. Generally 5-6 public schools and any privates that are in that area, up to 7,000 enrollment. And the enrollment only counts sophomores through seniors. And so about 7,000. And for us, that means recruiting at Greenville High, JL Mann, Carolina, Southside, as well as Christchurch and St. Joe's. And so for me, I do have some relationships with those head baseball coaches. Mm-hmm. And so it's just kind of been slow, reach out, try to teach these kids what American Legion baseball is, what it means to play for the Post. And it's high-level baseball. You know, I think a lot of people know about travel baseball now and these perfect games and these things that parents are paying thousands of dollars for their kids to play. I think that's the beauty of American Legion. It's very pure. It's a high level of baseball. These are essentially high school all-star teams, right, coming together.
Right.
And the Post underwrites almost all of it. And you mentioned Ingalls earlier. They're going to pay for us to play out at Firmin's Latham Field, which is pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
They've done a great job keeping that facility in shape. Yeah, they lost the program a few years ago, right? But they still maintain the field out there because they've got club baseball and they use it for other camps. So we're really excited about it. And none of this happens without the support of the American Legion. You know, I'll just tell you, it's probably a $6,000 to $8,000 up front when you talk about the uniforms, the baseballs, the field rentals, everything that comes with it. But, you know, we'll chip away at that with some small sponsorships and ticket sales of the games, and they're only $5. So we'd love to, anybody that's listening that loves baseball, I'd definitely encourage you to come out and check out a game this summer.
Yeah. With me today, Coach Brian, we're talking American Legion baseball. How many games will you have? And I mean, that's big news that you guys at your home field will be out at Latham Field.
Yeah, we're really excited about being out there at Firmin. It's going to be somewhere in that 15 to 20 games, and then depending on how far you go in the playoffs, you know, there's a state tournament at Francis Marion, and then if you win that, you go to region, and, you know, we dream a little bit, maybe not this first year startup, but the World Series is actually just up the road in Shelby. And so it definitely encourage people. I've made that drive a couple of times, and the end of that's actually on ESPN. You can catch those games there. So start small here. You know, we'll be playing the Post from Anderson, Easley, Golden Strip, and Greenwood, and we will play Greer a couple times. They're not in our league, but why wouldn't we play them just around the corner? They've got a beautiful facility.
Sure.
So just really looking forward to getting started. Yeah.
And this is a special year for American Legion baseball, too, because it turns 100 years old. Yeah, it's pretty amazing when you look at it. They claim 87 Hall of Famers have played American Legion baseball. Wow.
And as many as 10 million kids have played American Legion baseball. You could go back over 100 years. And some of the names pretty familiar: Yogi Berra, Ted Williams, Bob Feller, Albert Pujols, and then upstate native Jim Rice as well, who played for the Anderson Post and went into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 2009. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Fun fact.
Yeah. Coach, if there's someone listening today who just loves baseball and wants to help, are there opportunities for volunteers and all?
Absolutely. We'd love to have you. We're looking for scorekeepers, concession workers, ticket sellers, and just fans to come out. You can find us on Facebook, Greenville Warbirds. Look for Greenville Post 3's page. They'll have it on there. And in a Google search, we've got a really nice website set up with the full schedule, and you'll find our contact info on there. So looking forward to seeing a lot of baseball fans out there at Firmin this summer.
Yeah. Coach, congratulations. Appreciate your time today, and we look forward to following the Warbirds throughout the season.
Thanks so much, Joey.
Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you could trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. As we continue our series of interviews with mayors of the upstate, we move over to the Greenville-Spartanburg County line, to a city that's in both Greenville and Spartanburg, and has played a special place in my life, my hometown of Greer. Joining us today, Mayor Rick Danner. Welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
Joey, I'm doing fine, and that's a new gem to me. I didn't realize you were a Greerite, so thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. Born and raised, as we say. I went to Victor Elementary School, and actually, Mayor, I have a bone to pick with you because you're building over my baseball field.
Well, the Victor School is near and dear to my heart. My mother-in-law actually went to the Victor School for a bit, and we attended Victor Baptist right there across the street.
Oh, yeah.
My wife's family, that was their home church, and when we got married, we attended there for a long time, and have moved over to the Presbyterian Church here in Greer. But yeah, I have fond memories of that area for sure.
Oh, yeah. Well, I went to kindergarten at Victor Baptist Church, and then, of course, the next year moved across the street to Victor Elementary and finished that. I think that I was my last year in the 5th grade as I went to Greer Middle School. I think that was the last year that Victor Elementary was open. I actually have a brick. I have a brick from the school.
Good for you. Good for you.
Let's talk a little about Greer, and if you would, and I always ask mayors to do this, take a minute or so and give me your elevator speech about Greer.
Joe, I'd be more than happy to. We are a town that has witnessed incredible growth over the last 25 or 30 years. And I say that with a sense of pride, having served now 25 years as the mayor here in Greer. But I think that we have crafted a town that obviously is welcoming, offers a quality of life that people appreciate, the opportunities for jobs and good schools and good churches, and has a kind of quintessential southern downtown that attracts a lot of people. So that would be my elevator speech.
Yeah, and speaking of downtown, boy, you guys have done just a magnificent job of downtown. It's what a small town is supposed to look like, I think.
Yeah, it's just got that feel. We're hard by the railroad tracks, which a lot of southern towns are. We grew up around the depot like a lot of other towns. But I think the thing that makes our downtown so interesting is that it is intact from basically the 1920s. And as you can imagine, most if not all of the town is brick fronts and mostly brick buildings and no gap teeth in it or gap tooth spaces in it. and sort of harkens back to this feel that people, were so enamored with in the 50s and back in that day when stores were hustling and bustling. And so I think we've been able to capture that in some regard.
Sure. On our guest line today, Mayor of Greer, Rick Danner. Talk with us about the history of Greer. I mean, every small town has its own story, and if I remember correctly, of course, it has a lot to do with the railroad track there, as you mentioned. But talk with us about the history.
Yeah, we're not unlike all the other railroad towns. We grew up around a depot that was the land was sold by Mr. Greer to the Norfolk Southern Railroad, and that was the impetus for the beginning of the town. We incorporated in 1865, so got a little bit of history at this point. We had a influx of people from about the 1940s to mid 70s, and that was as the upstate transitioned from agriculture and some of the other things that drove so much that was going on in the upstate at that point in time to a more manufacturing base. And Greer had at one point in time 5 mills right in town that ran, and another couple just outside of town. So lots and lots of people moving into town. Unfortunately, as that industry offshored, we did see the 80s and 90s where our population decreased for a significant period of time, almost 20 years, and it was a real blow to our downtown and some of the other areas. But with the announcement in 1992-93, BMW was coming, and the efforts of the city and individuals and others, we got things back on track, and by 2000 we're positioned hopefully to take advantage of some growth opportunities and try and build back to where we were at one point in time. And I think over the last 20 years we've been fairly successful in being able to do that. It's very intentional. We've got a good council and good administration, and we've been able to grow in a way that I mentioned earlier in the interview. I think is attractive to not only young families but all ages.
Yeah, Mayor Rick Danner is with me today. Let's talk a minute. You mentioned you've been mayor for quite some time now, many years. Two-part question. Number one, what made you decide to run for mayor? And then once elected, is there something that just really surprised you about the position that maybe you hadn't thought about before you ran?
Good question. I was. I guess I was fairly innocent to politics when I got elected in '99, but had grown up in a fairly large family, the oldest of 5 children, and sort of gravitated to leadership positions throughout my life, whether or not it was in church or school or Boy Scouts or sports or whatever it was. And as my family began to grow and opportunities in the community came along, I got involved with the chamber and my church and other business organizations, and one thing kind of led to another. And as the former mayor had made a decision he wasn't going to run again, a group of businessmen came and asked me if I would consider running for mayor, and made that decision to do that with a real heart for public service. I felt like that I had been blessed in a lot of ways, and that public service would be a good way for me to offer myself back to my community. I was not born and raised in Greer. I met my wife on a blind date at Clemson, and we got married soon after we got out of school, and have lived in Greer ever since. And it felt like home, and I wanted to leave it a better place than I found it, and that was what that brought me to offer myself to run. So that's kind of the story on that.
Yeah.
What was the second question? I'd forgotten now.
Well,
I got kind of wound up there.
is there something about the job of mayor that you just weren't expecting, a big surprise once you became mayor?
Well, yeah, I guess I was pretty naive to local government, but the bottom line that I found out was in local politics, it's really just about people. I mean, it's just that's there's no way around it. There's no way under it or over it. It is just a people job, and that was the thing that it took me, a little while to figure out, because there were so many things coming at me so fast when I first went in that seat. And we were blessed to have a city administrator that had some experience under his belt, and we worked well together, and some department heads that helped me understand that, if I'd handled the legislative side and the issues of being the mayor and doing what the mayor does, they could take care of the administrative side. And as soon as I realized that my role was to represent all of the citizens, then it became pretty easy for me. I guess you'd call a people person, and I found out that being open and honest and available is what makes a successful mayor.
Sure. Well, kudos to you and your team, because again, downtown Greer is just fabulous, and again, someone who's grown up here and seen it evolve from some of the stores downtown, like the Leader and Bells and Collins and Alta Cunningham, and now we have some great restaurants down there. We talked earlier about the growth and the changes that we've seen. Mayor Danner, talk with us about future growth, and do you feel like that you guys have managed the growth of Greer pretty good?
Yeah, I really do. I mean, people look at say, it's extraordinary, and it is. I mean, we've tripled in terms of our population since 2000. So it's undeniable that there have been a lot of people that have moved here. But I think between our strategic vision for the city and some long-term planning and a planning department and others that have poured their heart and soul, a council certainly, into shaping this community, that we have done a good job of it. I think one of the things that that I'm proud of is that we have been open to new ideas and to new ways, and some of that's a little bit different than traditional housing and the way it's been done in the past. Doesn't mean it's better or worse. It just means it's a little different. And so I think the key to our success has been the fact that, while we have grown steadily and fast in some regards, we have also done it in an orderly fashion and managed the things that we can manage, and have worked to help manage the things that we don't ultimately manage. And I think that's the best we can do, and I think people have appreciated that.
Yeah. If a business is considering coming to Greer, opening a location there, what do you tell them about doing business in the city?
Well, we've got an economic development department, and Reno Deaton and his group can provide you with enough data to drown the person. So we have a great team that works from maybe a 1-2 person operation up to a manufacturing company that's looking to come and serve BMW. One of the things that has been we've been very aggressive about is finding places for people to land, and I think that's important. We've also, got a work base that we can avail to them in terms of this area, and it's a good area to be in. We've seen some changes over the years, and particularly with the inland port being located here. We've got a really good balance of industrial and commercial and logistics now. So I think there's a balance there that whether or not you're an entrepreneur looking for a place to start a business or you've got 200 years worth of experience, I think there's a place for you in Greer.
Yeah. On our guest line, Mayor of Greer, Rick Danner. Mayor, what's something about Greer that maybe we don't know, and it's not easily found on a Google search?
Well, we're not much of a secret at this point, but I will tell you this: we are particularly proud of the fact that we were able to purchase the old Greer Country Club back several years ago. And, at one point in time that probably could have become, just another subdivision up there near the high school up in that area north of Greer. But we were able to acquire that whole course and facility, and over the last 5 years or so have brought that back to life. And it is a great 18-hole small golf course, municipal owned. We served about 37,000 rounds on that course last year.
Wow.
And beautiful setting, and we have spent the money to get the course in good shape. And so I know we had the county championship there last year, but is something that a lot of people may not realize is there. It's a true muni course, and an excellent one at that.
Yeah. Rick Danner, Mayor of Greer. For additional information about Greer, just go to cityofgreer.org, cityofgreer.org. Mayor, appreciate your time today, and just keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, my friend, and you take care, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Absolutely. That's it for this special weekend edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.